Limerence. You recognize that stage right at the start with a new interest where your mind practically short-circuits. You've shared perhaps 2 brief chats with this individual, yet you've already dwelled on them a ridiculous amount of times. You watch your screen far more than you'd care to confess. When they finally text, there's a sudden high that defies logic considering how completely you don't know them. That isn't just infatuation. A researcher called Dorothy Tenoff explored this in the 70s and coined a term, limerence. What sets it apart from simply having feelings is how uncontrollable it gets. You aren't deciding to dwell on them endlessly. Your mind is just running it on a loop, and it won't quit until it finds the clarity it's craving. Because the true prize limerence seeks is validation. It isn't just about the human, it's about if they mirror the feeling. Every tiny action they take gets overanalyzed. An instant text holds a clue. A delayed response holds a different one. The second, the ambiguity vanishes. Whether they return the feelings or reject them, the obsession usually evaporates almost instantly, which reveals a ton about what it truly meant. Chrysalism. There's a logic why so many folks claim they enjoy stormy days, and it's more precise than just enjoying the sight of puddles. When it's heavily storming outdoors, clear enough to listen to, harsh enough that walking out would be terrible, and you're indoors, cozy, with zero plans, something clicks. The busy street and all its pressures become totally inaccessible, and within that there is a sense of freedom. Freedom to just chill, to ignore your responsibilities, to simply breathe in your space. This is Chrysalism, titled After the Chrysalis, the shell a caterpillar rests inside before it transforms. It's that exact sensation of being blocked out from the chaos in a manner that feels secure rather than stuck. What makes it click is the difference. The racket of the thunder outdoors is truly part of what makes the snugness indoors seem so great. Your mind processes the extreme and unwinds. That's the vibe. It's why some folks will open the glass just to hear the drops louder. Kenopsia. There's something uniquely creepy about a space made for crowds right after the crowds have left. A campus over winter holiday, a mall after closing time, a theater right after the movie finishes, popcorn spilled in the aisles, screens still glowing. These spaces were built for masses. The seating, the doors, the architecture, everything implies humans are meant to be present, and when they aren't, the vibe feels wrong in a sense that's tough to describe. That is Kenopsia, the haunting chill you catch in a vacant spot that once buzzed with activity. What sets it apart from just standing in a quiet hall is that you actually sense the void. If you never knew the space was packed, it would just be a hall, but since you realize what it's built for, the quietness has a heaviness to it. You can catch the exact vibe from dead social media accounts that haven't been updated in ages, or old voicemails from relatives who have passed away. The framework is left behind. The human isn't, and that divide forms something truly bizarre. Monachopsis. You're at a dinner, or a corporate retreat, or some function where everybody looks relaxed and the dialogue is easy and you're okay. You're chatting with folks, you're laughing. Nothing is factually broken, but there's this quiet underlying sense that you're totally disconnected, not unwanted, just like a gear that doesn't smoothly spin the machine it's been bolted to. Monachopsis is the term for this. The lingering, stubborn sense of feeling out of bounds. What sets it apart from simply feeling timid is that it doesn't actually fade out when you settle or loosen up. It's almost as if your internal rhythm rejects the crowd and no level of pretending bridges the divide. Folks who catch this frequently seem to share the same hidden belief beneath everything else, that out there is a crowd they'd step toward and it would just click, where blending in would be automatic, where they'd never perceive the divide. The bulk of us waste a huge chunk of our years hunting for that crowd. Anemoia. You spot a box of vintage magazines or stumble on some tape of a roller rink from the 80s, or view an old film camera recording with those faded down shadows and the weirdly framed picture angles, and you get this urge for it. A yearning for that age, that style, that way of life, which doesn't make much normal sense because you weren't there. You hold no memories of it. There is no good reason to crave something you never lived. And yet the feeling is true, and it happens often. It's named Anemoia, a longing for an age you've never known. The reason it happens is super easy to see. Old videos only show you the happy times. The pictures that got saved were the best ones. The movies that live on tend to be birthday parties and everyday events that people thought were worth keeping. You're not watching what it was really like to exist then. You're viewing the best moments, colored by an old camera that now feels safe and cozy. What you're truly wishing for is likely a more basic life, and the past just happens to be the simplest blank space to project that onto. Sonder. You're riding the subway and you look across at the stranger opposite you. There's just an ordinary person sitting there staring at their shoes, completely lost in their own thoughts. And suddenly it clicks. That stranger has a complete history, childhood memories, hidden anxieties, a conversation they wish they could do over, a favorite movie, an entire universe that is just as deep and messy as yours, and you'll walk away and never uncover a single detail about any of it. That specific realization is Sonder. It's the exact moment you recognize that every passing stranger is experiencing a reality that's just as vivid and complex as your own. It seems like common sense on paper, but when it actually washes over you, really hits you, it's entirely different. It generally strikes in packed spaces, coffee shops, crowded sidewalks, waiting rooms. Your mind attempts to fully process that every face is an entire universe, and then it simply shorts out because the sheer scale is impossible. It's one of those sensations you can't easily label as uplifting or depressing. It's just vast. Mauerbauertraurigkeit. This word comes from Germany, which makes a lot of sense when you look at how long it is and how exactly it explains things. Someone tries to call you, a friend, a cousin, a person who really wants to hang out with you and hasn't done a single bad thing, and something in you just shuts down. You make up a lie, say you're tired, put it off, and then you sit by yourself, which is exactly the thing you picked. But it doesn't feel nice at all. Mauerbauertraurigkeit, basically meaning wall-maker sadness, is just that. The drive to block people out even when you don't truly want to. What makes it not the same as just needing alone time is how automatic it feels. It acts more like a sneeze than a real choice. And then there's the sadness that comes next, that very specific kind that's tough to cry about since you caused it all by yourself. Hiraeth. You likely recognize how homesickness hits you, that soft, aching tug drawing you backward. But there's a variation of it that dives a little deeper, where you aren't just craving a year, you are craving an era, an atmosphere, or a chapter of your story that simply isn't there anymore. And the cruel catch is that even if the physical spot remains, the magic you're actually missing is gone. You could return, but it wouldn't feel right. In Welsh, they name this Hiraeth. It's an ache for a home, yet a home you cannot revisit, or perhaps one that never truly mirrored your glowing memories. Native speakers will insist it honestly cannot be converted to English, not because they're trying to be profound, but because our language just lacks the exact term. We experience it for a hometown street after it's rebuilt, for the honeymoon phase of a romance, or a vacation that seemed like it would never end. There's a mourning inside it, even when logically no tragedy occurred. Life just drifted ahead, and hiding inside that void, Hiraeth breathes. Onism. You're going to have one life, one story, one body, one pattern of days, and at some point that becomes super clear to you. Every pick you make is also a pick to not do 100 other things. Every town you live in is a town you chose over dozens you skipped. Every road you walk blocks off roads you miss. The life you are making is, as a rule, being made at the price of every other story you might have lived. Onism is the annoyance of being trapped in just one spot and one life, the silent knowing of how much you are missing just by standing here, living this story instead of all the other ones that were perfectly possible for you. It often pops up when you are reading about a spot you will likely never see, or watching a nature show about a totally different way of living and sensing the space. The internet has likely made this harder. You have never had such an easy way to see proof of all the lives you are not living. Every piece of the human world is a tap away, which is super cool, but also sometimes way too much to handle. Because no matter what you pick, you are always thinking of everything you left. Vellichor. Antique bookstores hold a certain energy that's tough to completely figure out. It isn't purely the scent of aged pages, though that plays a role. It's something regarding the items individually. The truth that each novel on those racks has already lived a story before it landed right here. A stranger purchased it, maybe read it front to back, maybe didn't, tucked a ticket inside as a placeholder, or highlighted a quote that held meaning to them back then. And then for whatever reason it was given away and today it sits, ready again, waiting for somebody new. Vellichor is the term for that aura, the silent, faintly tragic energy of antique bookstores and vintage thrift shops. Rooms packed with items that once tied into another's world and now sit free. There's a sorrow hidden there, yet it isn't a crushing grief. It's really just a gentle nudge that years fade. Items swap owners, and the globe is packed with hidden legacies you could spend an eternity unpacking.